What's up, guys? Nick from Driven Leads here, and looking to answer a couple of your common questions that you might have when working with Driven Leads or working with anybody in that matter. In regards to Google Ads accounts, we get a lot of questions on how long will it take to get started. And what I mean by that is how long until your Google Ads campaign goes live, you start getting traffic, and most importantly, you start getting leads. Well, if you watch enough videos from me, you're going to hear this a lot. And this might annoy some people. This annoys my wife. I know that for sure. It depends. It depends on a couple of important factors. So let's take the assumption that you have a website that's working, a website that's tracking, a website that's going to convert that we know works when you're doing Google Ads, and you're ready to go on those factors. If that's all set up and your tracking's all set up, then for us to build out a campaign, if you call us up and say, hey, I'd like to get started ASAP for us is typically 7 to 10 days. And what we do in those 7 to 10 days is we're getting a worksheet from you, we're doing an onboarding with you, we're figuring out what areas we want to go after first, what's most important to us, what is going to be our first plan of attack, and then we're starting to do that build out. We're building that campaign out, we're building out the ads. At Driven Leads, we don't do you're going to do that, pull that out of a box and give that to you. It's not a set it up and pull that out of the drawer and hand it out and say, okay, it's good to go. Do we use a template to start stuff up? We do, for sure. But there's a lot of customization that goes into it. There's a lot of conversation on what you're going after, what the parameters are of what you're doing, what locations you want to run, what markets you're in. What kind of ad copy is going to be in that and what it entails. You've got ad extensions. Are you doing call only? Are you doing phone call tracking? Which you should. If you're doing any kind of campaigns, you should do call tracking. But it's usually 7 to 10 days. What would make that go a little bit further along is going to be holidays, is going to be workload, and we'll be open and honest about that. If you call up and somebody calls me right now and says, hey, I'd like to get started, if we're in a holiday, I'm going to tell you we're probably going to get that live after the holiday. Us getting your campaign started before a major holiday is not going to fix whatever ails on the other side. It's not going to magically make you a ton of deals. So to build it out properly and to make sure that the team's on it and correctly building that out, we're not going to rush to get that thing greenlit. So usually 7 to 10 days. It could be faster, depending on depending on if you have one market you're running, if it's one campaign, one set of ad copies, one sole focus, then that goes a lot faster. Now, there's other parameters that go into that. If you're doing a Market Premier program with us, a Market Premier program covers Google Ads, display ads, YouTube ads, call-only ads, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that. LinkedIn if you want it. If you have video involved in that, then there's going to be more time to set up to get that video going. YouTube ads take a little bit longer. Display ads, do you have that creative done, or do we need to do that? There are a bunch of parameters that go into that. So usually our clients, when they're coming in and doing our Market Premier program, it's a little bit longer. But what we do is we start that up and you get your base stuff going. You get your Google Ads started up. We get that green lit. We start pulling traffic in, building up your audiences. And let's say you're doing Microsoft ads on top of the Google Ads, which can work parallel with each other. We're going to start that as well. So that's going to be started after the Google, and then you just start knocking things off the checklist. But to get everything up to speed, it's probably going to be 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And then, once you get started, again, something that we've talked about before, once we turn that thing on, boom, you could get a lead that day. You should start to get impressions. Your ad should start to show up in the wild or on the internet, depending on how you look at it. And you're going to get traffic. You're going to start to get clicks. You're going to get people on your website. So you're going to see impressions, search traffic coming in. You're going to see people on your site. You're going to potentially get leads that first day that we turn it on live. So if you call me on a Monday and say, hey, Nick, I'd like to get going, by Wednesday of that next week, you should start to see traffic. you should start to see leads that next week as well, right? So 7 to 10 days is what we tell people. We put a little buffer in there. I'll be very honest. We put a buffer in there because we don't know what the communication is going to be like, how many cooks are in the kitchen on your side, getting us information if we have to track people down. We work in the real estate industry. It's a very busy industry. There's a lot of things that happen on the fly. There's stuff that, unforeseen things that happen, closings that are popping up or changing or adjusting or showings. So we understand fully that everything is not going to be turn it on, here's our stuff, let's go. It's going to be, hey, we need this, we need that. There's some communication. We need to get an onboarding going. So we usually give ourselves a good buffer on that on the 7 to 10 days. Will it go over? Yeah, it potentially could, but we're going to communicate that. But within 2 weeks, you should start to be getting leads. Within 3 weeks, you should have your entire program going if you're doing a market premiere. And you should start to see the success of those campaigns pretty shortly thereafter. So I hope that answers the questions that you had. If there's some more questions that come up, don't forget to ask. Ask in the comments, ask on our website, call us, text us, email us. Let us know if you need anything, and we can answer anything at any time. Thanks for coming.